Hello everybody, this is Shady here, and today I'm going to be starting what will hopefully be a new series, which I like to call Shady Recommends. Basically, this is just going to be a bite-sized review of one game where I give an overview and my own kind of thoughts on something, essentially of a game that I'd like to recommend. It's going to be just a random game of a random genre every time, and yeah, it's just something I think you should definitely try out. And today I'm going to start off with a really interesting game. Grandia. And the reason why I want to talk about this game in particular is because I've recently been replaying it and it's an incredible time. And yeah, I just think, it's something that I just want to get out there. So obviously, if you guys don't know, first of all, we're going to give a brief history lesson. For starters, this was obviously a Japanese RPG released in 1997 for the Sega Saturn. Then a couple of years later, came to PlayStation to the West. Essentially, Sega didn't want to do an international release, but then obviously once it was ported to PlayStation, Sony just wanted to get anything out there because they were newcomers. So obviously it got a international release. And what's really awesome about this game in particular, because it was designed specifically for the Sega Saturn, it's primarily a 2D game, so a 2D sprite-based game with 3D elements. So you have like the actual world itself with kind of like, 3D buildings and stuff, but the actual characters are sprites. It's kind of an isometric view. You can rotate the camera a little bit, and it's like pretty much fully voiced for the most part anyway. Something that obviously would have only been possible with a CD kind of soundtrack. So what I really like about this game in particular is that it feels like a Super Nintendo game kind of with the elements of CD. So you've got great music and voice acting, all those things. And yeah, the music is amazing. There's a lot of great tracks in this game. And, what makes it really great, what I like about this game is it's a very kind of simple kind of coming of age story, if you will, because you're playing as this young lad called Justin and his friend, and they're kind of going on an adventure where they end up, kind of essentially saving the world, but kind of, learning stuff about themselves and growing as they go. Very kind of standard JRPG fare, but just done really well. And this was in the era where JRPGs were like the best, where they were just, they dominated. This was the post-Final Fantasy VII era. Yeah, strangely enough, this game was kind of marketed as a Final Fantasy VII killer, even though it's not really. Very different type of game. But yeah, what I really like about the game, it has, like I said, an amazing art style that's very unique. It's just got great music, cool characters. The voice acting is a little cheesy, especially, if you play the English dub, but that's kind of part of the charm. And most importantly, what's great about this as a retro game, it's actually easily accessible now, because thankfully we live in the remaster era. So obviously, like I said, this game was originally for Sega Saturn, then came to PlayStation, and obviously now we have the HD remaster. So originally, this was released for Switch. It includes Grandia 1 and 2, Grandia 2 being a sequel on the Dreamcast, new cast characters, everything. And basically, it compiles both of those games. And it also came to Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. So it's basically available on everything, which is awesome. Obviously, there are physical copies available, but they were only through limited run. Unfortunately, so you're going to pay an arm and a leg to get those, but it's about I think it's like 25 quid or something like that. You can actually, on Steam at least, you can buy the game separately if you're interested. If you just want to buy the first one, then obviously it's basically a PS1 game, so it runs pretty much on any kind of PC. But yeah, I mean, you buy them both as a bundle on the console. So 2 is really good as well, so you definitely want to do that. But why I think you guys really enjoy this. Obviously, it's a very, even though if you haven't played JRPGs, it's actually decent kind of like, almost like a JRPG for people who, who are beginners to the genre, really, because the mechanics aren't like too hard to understand. It's not like full of all these complex systems and all that. It's very kind of simple, a little grindy, obviously, because it's an older game. But yeah, it's very simple, like towns, dungeons, and bosses. Very kind of standard kind of JRPG setup, almost like a quintessential game in the genre. Definitely one that I would suggest, even if you're not a JRPG fan. And pretty much, yeah, I think you should play the game. A few last things, obviously, you know, if you're, like I said, if you're going to go for the physical copy, be prepared to play an arm and a leg. Obviously, you do have that original PS1 version if you want to try it out. Technically, the Saturn version is the superior one as well, but like we said, never got translated. But obviously, you know, you've got translation guides, and there's obviously you can get like kind of you know, fan done ROMs or translations of that Saturn version if you want. And there are ways to play that on official hardware if you're interested. And obviously, you know, the essentially the PS1 version doesn't look quite as nice, and pretty much, if I'm correct, I think, you know, there's a few kind of extra loading things here and there or something like that. So it's like, you know, because both sets of hardware work differently. 2D worked better on the Saturn essentially. And obviously the HD version is a good, convenient way, has some quality of life features and stuff, but isn't, it's based on that PS1 version, but I'm sure if you're just playing it, you don't, probably doesn't matter to you as much. But just, I thought I'd put that out there just to let people know. But yeah, this is pretty much the end of the review. So yeah, if you're interested in the game, definitely try it out and have a great rest of your day.